we're going to get started. So the first question, and I'm going to throw this out to everybody on the panel, is how did you get your start in music? I don't jump in once, so.
Okay, I'll go first. So I always knew that I wanted to be in music. I love music. I was always the person that all my friends asked what was hot and what was not. I just didn't understand the capacity. So I started first in a traditional marketing sense in advertising. Bounced around a couple agencies, realized it was nothing near what I wanted to do. I wasn't being fulfilled. I didn't see my work. It wasn't tangible for me. So I left. I went to event marketing, which was amazing. I got to work with amazing people. I got to strategize and concept and execute large-scale Nike events, and got to really see my work and feel a little bit of that fulfillment that I was searching for. And then, I got everything I needed to get from that. I decided that it was time to sort of explore my passion points and explore what really made me happy and what would make me feel full. And then I found my way at Complex, a place that is not only highly influenced by music, but also by pop culture, also by entertainment, also by fashion, publication, TV. It's sort of the medium that houses and a hub for all of these things. And every day that I walk into the office, I feel at home, and I feel like it embodies me.
My name is Dimples. I got my start a little differently, very non-traditionally, in the sense where I was in undergrad and I started blogging, and I self-taught myself how to do web design. So my into music was actually helping Funkmaster Flex design in Flex We Trust. So from there, we went on to like a series of me working on a myriad of different sites, and then realizing I hated being web services. So I picked up my first PR client, then I was a publicist for a little bit, realized I hated that.
That's how you do it. You got to do it. You don't like it.
Right, realized I hated that, and then found myself working on a series of digital marketing campaigns before digital was a thing. And then I think the start of Twitter, and I got to participate and be part of really big social rollouts, which led me to Neo's management team, which led me to Capitol Records, and now I'm running my own thing.
I had a weird introduction to music, so I started my career out in fashion journalism. So I worked at Paper, Honey Magazine. I don't know if you all remember that magazine. It's a throwback. But fast forward, when publishing kind of went downhill, I needed a gig. So I did PR for 6 months. I hated it at Ford Models. And then randomly out of the blue, I got a call about a new network that was coming to Viacom. It was a partnership between BET and VH1. It was called Centric. They hired me to do content for a reality show about male models. I guess they figured I could do it. I did it. We did the content, I turned it out, and then they came back and said hey, do you think you can talk about anything else other than fashion and style? And I was like, yeah, I can talk about music, I can talk about entertainment. So fast forward, that built my relationship at Viacom, where I was kind of the fashion/music guy. So I kind of floated around a couple channels there, but ended up running digital for Centric. I was there when they became the first network designed for Black women, so I was over that digital space, and then I moved over to bt.com. And then I brought my ass to LA to run digital content for the Recording Academy and the Grammys. So.
Wow. Everyone hates PR. Yeah. I literally walked out. I didn't think I actually quit. I just left and never came back.
Yeah. Mine also was very non-traditional. Went to Cal State Fullerton and studied communications PR, and I did not have any internships, didn't have any jobs lined up after school, so I just said, hey, I'm gonna start my own thing. After I graduated, I moved to New York, and I had a friend who was starting her blog, and I pretty much helped build her brand. Shirley actually was one of the ones who really helped me see that, okay, I could really do this PR thing. I pitched to her. She was able to get me in Hip Hop DX. Yeah, we had the first article in there, and I was like, okay, I can do this. I met Echo Haddock. She has a
I love Echo.
Yeah, that's
She was the first people I met when I moved to LA.
Yeah, she believed in me. She seen it. She told me, and she just took me under her wing, and that's how I got my start with PR and music.
I'm not sure if it's considered traditional, but in the sense that I started at the bottom, I was at UCLA studying philosophy actually. I think I saw Hip Hop DX was hiring interns, editorial interns, and I had a homie in my class that referred me. So I remember pulling up to the Hip Hop DX office, and I don't know if you guys know Justin Hunt, but he was the editor-in-chief at the time, and my test was to write a Meek Mill story, and in my head I'm like, are you serious? I get to write about Meek Mill? Oh my gosh, I was geeked because I love Meek Mill. And yeah, that's where I started, just as an intern at Hip Hop DX. I ended up being there for about 5 years. I went on to run their music section, which is when I supported Sade's artists. And it's crazy because people would say, wow, you put up, like, I literally got to every single email and I posted every single artist that I wanted to post. And people saw the value in that. And then from there I became a freelancer, and then I became editor at large. So yeah, it's crazy because writing isn't even something that I love truly deeply. It was just an outlet. It was just an outlet to exercise my passion for hip hop.
That's dope. So within you guys getting your start and getting to where you are right now, what have been some of the biggest obstacles that you faced, and how have you overcome them, or one of them?
That's tough. I mean, I feel like there are obstacles all the time, every day. I think I'm my biggest obstacle. I think sometimes I get in my head too much. Sometimes I get in my own way. And we all go through things. We all have issues or struggles within a professional environment. And I think it's just, if you lay things out on the table and you look at it from a bird's eye view, objectively, and you can figure out how to kill it. Like, you can figure out how to get past it. And I think if me, if I'm not in my head so much, and if I just continue to think about it in that way and think about that this is not something that someone else hasn't already beasted, then I'll kill it too.
I think probably for me, the biggest obstacle that I faced when I first started especially was location. I know now location really isn't a thing, but I was in school in Arizona, and there's no industry in Arizona.
Even with you working on the digital side? Though?
Even with the digital side, because digital wasn't a thing. Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
it was still
Twitter just started while I was in grad school. Like it literally, the only like digital platform we had that was really moving was Facebook. And I think while I was in grad school is when they opened it up to general public, and everybody thought, oh man, they just messed it up. like wow, before you needed a college email to get in there, and now it's like everybody's on here. So like for me, the biggest thing was location and access, because it's like, one, I don't know anybody, two, I'm in Arizona, three, I'm relying on word of mouth. But one thing I did find was that as long as the veracity of my work was good, word of mouth always spoke for me, and I never really, I was able to overcome that obstacle because it was like, nah, like, oh, the girl in Arizona? Yeah, she's hot.
You're only. Alrighty, so next question then. What is required in your day-to-day as far as work ethic, and what skill sets are required in your day-to-day to kind of keep you going, or just to get to where you are right now?
I would say patience and a whole lot of listening. I do manage a team of people, and I think a lot of times when people are in a space of management, they think it's just about telling people what the hell to do. It's not that. I'm having to manage my shit and the shit of 12 other people. And so it just takes patience. And I think that the biggest thing that I've learned, even in the past 5 years, is just to take a step back and listen. I think that listening, when you actually are effectively listening, there can be growth. There could be new ideas, there could be, and that's coming from our interns, that's coming from my staff writers. It doesn't have to be a management lateral play that decisions are being made. So I kind of that's been one of the things that I've tried to bring to my day-to-day, and it's kind of opened us up to be successful and a bit more diverse in what we're offering on the site.
Good takeaway.
Day to day, I would say mine is for sure balancing, creating boundaries because the lines can get blurred. When you're doing PR, you become the manager, the mom, the sister, the brother, the therapist. So I have to constantly manage expectations as well and get the job done. You know, I'm constantly pitching, I'm constantly looking for a yes, looking for the right yes. So yeah, balancing and managing expectations.
And now you see why we hate it.
I was gonna say, I ain't got time for any of that. You guys are bad.
Yeah, I was like, I think the biggest thing is like time management. Like waking up before 6 a.m., you know, in order, I saw the look, yeah, waking up before 6 a.m., making sure you're up and running, answering emails, being effective, setting boundaries is key, but in optimizing time management, New York is 3 hours ahead of us. If you're waking up at 10, you've missed half the day.
I think what goes into that is also organization. I mean, it's probably like the most softest skill set that anybody could possess, but I think something as small as a to-do list every day can go a long way, and I think I think everybody can speak to say, like, if you're organized in your work life, you're organized in you can be organized in your home life, you just have to apply both. I think it's really important to just set your shit in the beginning of the day and then knock it out.
I think people skills is a big one as well. A lot of people probably just see me interview artists, but there's so much that goes behind the scenes. Just getting in contact with the artist, manager, publicist, just label everything. I think those relationships are so valuable in itself. Because a lot
It's
of
how you
times,
do your job.
right?
Literally.
Like a lot of times they're the only reason you're able to get that artist, you know? So just, someone mentioned email, but I think email etiquette is so important too. I check my email first thing when I wake up before social media, so email is really important.
So this next question is going to be for Justin and Shirley. How do you guys deal with the boss that's not supportive? If you still work there, okay, just make sure you choose yourself.
No, facts. So here's the thing. We've all had that moment, and I'll open it up to the room. How many people have had that moment where you look at your manager or your boss and you're kind of like, how the hell did you get this job? Right. So in my journey, I have had a string of people who, in my experience, have been bad bosses, okay? That does not mean they could be amazing to somebody else, right? And I have to take a step back and say, why did this person disappoint me? They fell short of my expectations, right? For me, when I want a boss, I want somebody who can teach me, I want somebody who I can learn from, I want somebody who is just an overall boss, and a lot of times we don't even realize those expectations that we're putting on this person who's going through their own journey. Now granted, it is a work and application. I do it every day. There's some days I'm just like, why the hell am I having to deal with you? But that person is there because they're just there. The question then becomes for you to figure out, like, okay, is this a sign from the universe or God that it's time for me to move on, right? A lot of times people stay in situations, your boss is not the best, and you're there 8 years. Well, at some point that becomes on you, right? You made a decision to stay in that situation. But there's a lot of times where you're just kind of like, okay, objectively, I know I'm not fucking with this manager, but if I stay at this company, I can get this project across the finish line because it can tee me up for the next job that I want to go after. Or I can make this job that I'm currently at pay for the training that I need to get to that next job. So it's all about strategy and kind of like really removing the subjective part about it and just look at it objectively. Again, I know it is a serious exercise in application, but that would be how I would navigate it, and that's how I've navigated having difficult bosses.
The universe told me to walk out of that PR job. That's what happened.
A few more years.
I think for me, it's just not taking things personal, because I be emo a lot. Sometimes, I don't know, like I've cried on the job so many times, but just not taking it personal. And I think I'm at a point now where you work so hard to the point that you make yourself unreplaceable. And someone told me that one day, and that's just been in my head since. But yeah, just not taking things personal and just turning your obstacles into positives.
And don't stress yourself out over shit you can't control. It's up to your manager's manager to control their behavior. It's not your job to do that. You don't have the power, so you got to relinquish that.
Very true. Now, this is for Dimples and Sade. So, how do you leverage social media for business opportunities?
Well, social media, of course, is a big part of public relations because you have to create the image. So for sure, with my clients, leveraging them, showcasing their opportunities that they've been a part of, showcasing who they are, their personality, so that way it helps me when I'm pitching, and whoever I'm pitching to, they go to their social media and they can see basically everything that I'm pitching matches up. It doesn't work if I'm pitching and my client isn't showcasing what I'm pitching, that personality, it doesn't match up. So everything is like a puzzle piece when it comes to branding. You have to have all the pieces in order for the brand to work. As far as myself, I look at social media as my resume or like my business card. So anything that I do, people who I have relationships with, I can showcase that there, so that way, in the same sense, I'm building a brand as well. So it helps with building those relationships myself.
On a business end for me, on marketing side, I utilize social media more as an opportunity to tell my story or the story of my clients. So if we're working on a campaign comparable to the one that I just recently completed, which was like the Gangstar rollout, right? So there's a group that's been, making music for over 30 years, and they just put out an album. How do we digitize their story? How they met, how they developed the logo, how Groovy passed, how Premier was able to craft the music around his vocals. Like, how do we share that digitally with the fans that tap into them specifically? That's like the key purpose of social media. On a personal front, when it comes to my personal brand, I feel like it's my opportunity to talk to people that I don't necessarily have the opportunity to speak to one-on-one. We talked earlier about time management and making sure we optimize the use of our day. Socials is an opportunity for me to be like, man, I'm going through it, but guess what? I'm still moving. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
So, at what point, and this question is for Dominique and Justin, at what point do you stop doing favors for your friends? So once you say, you got by you're utilizing social media, you're booked and busy, or maybe you're not as busy as you want to be, but you're moving. You're going through it, but you're moving. At what point, for Dominique and Justin, do you stop doing favors for your friends?
Ooh, that's tough. You always want to help your friends. You always want to, if you can, if you're in that position, you want to be the person who is generous, right? But I think where I would draw the line is if my generosity isn't being reciprocated. That is huge for me in life and in professional work environments. If I am extending myself to you in some type of way, and if you are benefiting from me as a friend, and I want to go to coffee and you keep putting me off, like, how am I filling you up but you're leaving me on E? Like, that's not right. So I think the door has to swing both ways. And it's not that I need the same thing given to me that I'm giving to you. I just need to feel full in whatever way that you can do that for me. So if at any point I am not getting that from you, then that's where I have to draw the line.
I just have to say, if any of my friends did that, then they're not my fucking friends. But I think for me, it's just about, first of all, this industry that we're in is built on favors, it's built on relationships, it's built on kind of like that give and take, grease and palms. The one thing I will not do is give opportunities to friends who are not qualified. And I think a lot of times we confuse someone being our friend with someone being our professional peer. Those are two different things. Sometimes they can be both, but sometimes it's either or. And so, like, I've had moments where you just try to get people on and their resume is anemic as hell, right? And so when you get them into the space, and you're like, sorry to anybody who has anemia, but you get what I mean. that's the first thing that popped in my
I'm
head.
glad we got a public fire. We might need that.
Sorry. That's why I got out of business. Anyway, no, but like what I mean, but you bring these people into the space and they kind of like show their asses, and that becomes a reflection on you. So the one thing that I treat my friends or people that I'm associated with the same way I would do to a stranger. Do you have the credentials? Do you have the experience? Do you have what we're actually looking for the gig? Other than that, I'm not looking for somebody to reciprocate what I give them. I mean, at this point in this business, I've kind of accepted that sometimes you're just used as a vessel. You know what I mean? God, the universe uses you as a vessel for somebody's opportunity, and you don't get that shit back in like real time, but you'll get it on the back end.
That's a good way to look at it.
Yes.
Because that's a very frustrating feeling to feel like you've been used. But I'm a vessel.
It just works. It just works. It's trying to get to the better place. Yeah.
So this next question is going to be for Dimples and Justin. So in this era right now, social media, where it's being used, like, you know, platforms like Instagram are being used for advertisements, it's super hard to really sustain like organic interaction and growth. How do you, or what advice would you give to a brand new artist who's trying to build their audience and, you know, build all the stuff they need on social media to kind of propel themselves, but like they want to keep it super organic and real, but you know, flat tummy tea is winning at some points.
Hop on the new technology. I say this simply because like I know right now like the biggest complaint I'm getting is, man, people aren't seeing my Instagram posts. Because Instagram is reorganizing itself in order for it to be more profitable. Because people have been making money off of their platform. They also want to see a piece, and that's perfectly fine. But TikTok isn't doing that yet.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? And there's music on TikTok, and you have an avid opportunity in order to hop in over there, create content for free on your mobile device, build fans, and convert them over to your Instagram, convert them over to your Twitter, what have you. You have the opportunity to use any of these platforms for free and just build a real community by being your authentic self. My dog has a TikTok. You know? And his views are more popping than mine.
I got some stuff to do.
I'll just say, just consistency on what it is. Like I sometimes go to an artist page and it's kind of like, okay, you hustling t-shirts? Are you doing chocolate covered strawberries? Like, what are we doing? Like, you just want the music, right? And so, like, if you're posting, wait, is it okay?
What if they make, like, is there a way, so in that, because, you know, as a brand new artist, I feel like money is a thing, too. So, like, is there a way to, if you do have, like, a merch line already and it's doing well enough that you feel like you need to continue it at the same time, is there a way to join it all where it still looks consistent and feels real, and if you went to that person's page, you would care to cover them, or is it all just too much of a mess and it's like leave it alone?
Well, I think there are people that do it well, right? I'll look at like, I mean, one thing that comes to mind is Saweetie, and that's just because she was in the office recently, but it was just like, she had those icy chains, right? I feel like that is tied to the brand that she's put out there as an artist. She's doing these chains, it makes sense for her to post that on her IG.
Right.
But if it's like something random that is no connectivity to the music, is no, I mean, you don't even have a lyric on the t-shirt, you know what I mean, from your own music, it just feels disjointed. So that's what I would say, consistency.
I have a great example of an artist who's actually doing that really well. For PHOR, for it. Yeah, like he has a separate IG for his brand versus his personal / music. And like it's called Yours Truly or something like that. But like if you didn't know him and you came across his clothing brand line, you're like, wow, this is really dope. Not realizing like as a music artist, he probably makes more profit off of his merch line than he does his music.
Everything he puts out sells out.
Everything sells out in like 48 hours.
Right.
Like, because he's gotten to the point where his merch is bigger than him. I promise you I can't name the song.
I own the t-shirt.
But I own the t-shirt. I'm not even gonna front. I do.
Wow,
I
okay.
can name songs. That's my dog.
Shirley can name
Well, you know what? The next question is for you, so maybe you can tie a song in there. It's for you and Sade, actually. At what moment did you realize that you guys made an impact in the music industry?
Man, when artists would say thank you to me, I think, I don't know, that's just, when I was the music editor at Hip Hop DX, like I said, I literally clicked on every email. But just an artist saying thank you to me, like I remember when Reason got signed to TDE, he was like super hard to get a hold of, and I wanted to interview him for OK Player. And when we actually sat down, he was like, yo, the only reason I'm sitting with you is because I remember you used to post me when no one else did. And like, right. And like for TDE, you gotta go through the top, you gotta go through all this management to get a hold of the artist. And I hit him direct. And he was like, yo, I had to tell them, like, I fuck with her. She posted me when no one else did. And I damn near cried. That was so beautiful.
I have two. Culturally, I would say when I was living in New York and with the brand that I was talking about, G-Expo TV, we created, so she does ciphers, and we have artists. So Reason was one of our artists when no one really knew him. Ruchi, he was one of our artists when no one knew him. Bino, etc. And we created a hoop banging challenge, and it just went super viral. Credit to it also being in Hip Hop DX, and it's still months later was doing what it was doing, going viral. And I realized, like, oh wow, like people are able to really express themselves through this challenge and be seen through the eyes of our brand and other brands. Like, we've gotten so much where even to this day, people are like, oh yeah, you did that challenge. And they were able to get an opportunity based on that challenge or being in our ciphers. So culturally, I was like, okay, I have something here. As far as industry-wise, when I was representing Yella Beezy, he came through HICO, and they wanted to create more of a lifestyle brand with him and really get him in the eyes, more broader eyes. So the Black Ink Black Ink Compton was starting, and a mutual friend, she was the EP, Amber Mike, and she just came to me and she said, hey, I want you to help me cast. And I had Yella Beezy, he had the song Tattoo, they were already playing it through the VH1 system, and I was able to get him on the show. And he said on the show, you know, he talked about his grandma, he didn't want to talk about the shooting because he wanted that to be off, you know, scooted away from his brand. So that was an opportunity for him to speak, you know, more about his grandma and his son. And yeah, he just thanked me for that opportunity, and that was really dope.
Dope. Okay, so another question for you, Sade, and then also I want to add Dimples in on this one. So when it comes to building the artists, like you just talked about building these moments for Yella Beezy and different people, when it comes to building momentum, is that even important when you're building an artist? And if it is, how do you do that for a brand new artist, like that maybe doesn't have like a huge hit yet, or social media following is building, but it's not 1 million followers on Instagram, you know what I'm saying? So how do you do that, and is it important?
Definitely important to build momentum. I have an artist right now, Jordan Banks, and you know, a few years ago he had the number one hit on Billboard. That he followed up with a good single. But the thing is keeping that momentum, especially being in the R&B space. You know, it's really tough with keeping that eyes when everyone's focused on hip hop. So with him, you know, my advice is usually for him to just showcase what he does as far as a singer-songwriter. Become an expert with what you are, and have people follow you, to come to you, to say, hey, I relate to you. So it's definitely important because you want to build that authentic and organic community to support you always, whether you have momentum or not. But it's definitely important when it comes to if you have an album coming out or a single or a project, definitely want to build the momentum around, and that's why they come to a publicist or the marketing team to build the story around that.
When it comes to developing an artist on my end, there's two things. One, it's the music, making sure the product is good. And two, it's identifying and developing your creation story. Why should I care? Like, who are you and why should I care? Like, I feel like with mobile phones and like access to equipment, anybody who has access to like a little bit of funds can buy recording equipment and put it up on DSPs. What distinguishes you from the next developing act is the story that makes you unique. So my creation story, Nigerian immigrant, immigrated to America, early 2000s, went to school for physical therapy, and somehow had to convince my Nigerian parents midway through grad school that once I graduate, I was not working with my degree. If you know any Nigerians or Africans, that was a big thing. But you know what I mean? Like, But in knowing that about me, or in meeting me and hearing that little bit of identifying the struggle and completing the degree because I promised my parents, but never using it, you relate to it.
Right.
There's certain obligations in which you relate to as an artist. It's identifying that story, making sure your music not only taps into that story, but is good. And then packaging you, whether it be with a great brand identity or imaging or sometimes even affiliations, and then delivering you to the marketplace. That's how you build an app.
Now, a question for all of you guys. So you've done so much, and we just got to hear some of you guys' stories, and you're doing other stuff, you are probably meeting amazing people, and a lot of you guys are in spaces that, you know, maybe you have peers or friends that aren't there yet, right? That can feel kind of good to know that you are accomplishing things, but how do you not let all that get to you? How do you remain just being yourself? And it's for anyone to grab.
Yeah, I would say for me, because I do have a lot of friends who aren't even interested in the entertainment space, I still try to include them, you know, when I have events or something that I feel like they're interested in. I include them. Hey, such and such is doing this, or hey, come to this event. You know, involving them in some type of way. If I need help with an event, I involve them in where I feel like they would have interest in.
My advice would be recognizing that the industry is work and that your friends are still your friends. Do you know what I mean? Like the same 10 people I have been friends with for 15 years, I am still friends with. Do you know what I mean? Like I think so often, especially here in LA or in New York, whatever, we have the access and we meet new people who are great peers in order for us to like collaborate and work with. But if you weren't in this industry, would you be friends with them? You know what I mean? So like when I go home and I'm chilling with my dog, it's the people I would still be friends with that I see.
I think to piggyback off that, I think it's really essential to have a tribe and have a really solid circle and foundation and cultivate that. You should always have somewhere that you can come back to that feels like home all the time. Even if you haven't had a chance to cultivate that relationship with other people, you should have that within yourself. And no matter what, anytime you feel lost, you should be able to come back to your core and know who you are.
I agree with all of that. I mean, for me, it's like I can't get gassed up because at the end of the day, I work for somebody. And so even with an EIC title, they can take that shit away and I'll just be Justin. And so then I have to go back to my friends that I've known or the people that have sewn into me. So I think a lot of times, like, you know, there are business owners up here, so, you know, maybe that's a different journey, but like that you have equity in a company. But if you work somewhere where you don't have equity, there's no way you can be walking around gassed out. Gas in your pocket.
This might be super broad, but I feel like at the end of the day, it's never that serious, ever.
That's it.
My biggest thing, and I feel like anyone that relates, like I immediate that common interest, but just be a good person at the end of the day. That's like the biggest thing.
Now what, and this is for anybody as well, what is your favorite part of working in the music industry?
I get to make shit up. I'm so serious, man. Brainstorming sessions, man, let's hire a blimp and a billboard and a da-da-da-da-da. Who's done that before? Nobody. We're about to do it. Like, you literally get to throw things at the wall, justify them, work them backwards, build out the budgets, and make it happen. Because as crazy as it is, like half the stuff any of us on this panel do today did not exist like 5-10 years ago. Like we're really making things up.
It's just new stuff that they just like, you gotta do this. And I'm like, okay, that didn't happen. That didn't exist yesterday. But
Real quick, I actually got a package from Dimples from an artist she was working with. I think it was City Girls, yeah. But anyways, it was an artist I never heard of, but her packaging was so cute. It was like a pineapple single and like some Sprite.
Pineapple City.
Yeah, Pineapple City, sorry. But just from her delivering that package, I clicked on that artist's Instagram, I clicked on that artist's song. Like it was just so powerful, just what you could do with sending a package to someone.
But you see who sends out pineapples?
Right.
You're innovative though. Your dog has a TikTok.
My dog has a TikTok and I send out pineapples.
Alright guys, so give it up for the panel. We're gonna open right now for some questions. Thanks for all So raise your hand if you have a question. Noel's gonna come around with the mic, and then just grab the mic, stand up, and ask your question.
Thank you. First of all, I just want to say thank you to all the panelists. They're all amazing, and it's been amazing to hear you speak. My question is for women. How do you assert yourself as women and walk that line between assertive and maybe, you know, I don't think I need to say much more than that. I think you know exactly what I'm talking about. All right, thank you.
I can start. It's a struggle. I mean, we all know it's not a secret that we are in a male strengthened and focused industry that is now changing. But I think it's confidence. It's knowing that you are a boss and fucking walking in that meeting and waking up every day and feeling as such. I think it even if you don't feel it on the inside, you have to portray it because it's so easy to fold. It's so easy to sort of give in to the pressures, especially being a female, especially being a Black female. There are so many layers that we have to uncover. And I think confidence and understanding that wherever you are, you're there for a reason, and step in that truth and live that.
With me, I will say this because this is a quote I live by. If given the option, always choose confrontation. So if I'm in a room, a studio session, and you talk to every male in the room but me, I'm going to walk over to you and say, hey, did you see me over there? Nice to meet you. I'm going to address it because the one thing I don't want to do or ever encourage is for me to be uncomfortable in spaces that I've earned the right to be in.
She dropping gems.
For me, mastering energy for sure is big for me. You can definitely tell if someone is trying to get at you, disrespect you, or just come at you sideways. I master energy. I feel someone out. I check out the behaviors. I check how they're talking to me, how they're talking to others, and really just go from there. You know, I'm a kind person. I'm very real, authentic. So I'm gonna match your energy. You know, if you coming at me and you don't want to work with me respectfully, then we can talk about something else, and I'll work with someone else about it, or we just don't work at all.
I think what Dimple said is head on too, but then also like as a girl or a woman, I feel like, you know, like we have that thing where we're like, he's about to jump off that cliff and he doesn't even know it, right? We just be knowing, like that's really like a thing. So for me, what I've learned is, cause like sometimes like the confrontation thing, it either can go like super, super well or super, super bad. There's no like in between with me. So I try to like either gauge before I go into it, should I, you know, head on it, or should I let him run off that cliff real quick? So he has to call me and say, hey, can you help me back up? And now we can have the conversation that we needed to have before you jumped off, because I knew it was going to happen, but you weren't ready to be there with me yet. But I'm still here and I'm ready because we be knowing. I just have to like sometimes just really pick my battles and choose my battles wisely. Like,
She's much nicer than me.
it's because when I'm not nice, I can be super, super not nice. So I just have to choose my battles wisely until I learn how to properly confront people and all that stuff in the workplace, because I need to pay my bills.
Listen to women. We know what we're talking about.
Yes.
Listen to us.
Yeah, just listen. Do we got any other questions? I like that one. Who else choosing the people?
Thank you. Also, thank everyone on the panel for taking this time out for us. My question is for whoever would like to answer. My question is, do you make decisions more based on where you believe that the industry is headed, or where it is in the present? And if it's a little bit of both, then how do you decide like when to make those moves or decisions? For example, for like marketing things, for like sending pineapples, or when you're deciding to on a certain campaign that you want to push, like how do you decide when to toe that line if you're leaning one way or the other?
It boils down to your gut, really. Like there are a lot of like access to metrics and everything now. Like, you know, you can look at your Instagram analytics, your Facebook analytics, your Twitter insights, what have you. Those numbers are great and they're informative, but they're not necessarily indicative of what will respond or how people will really understand or react or engage with whatever it is that you're putting out. At the end of the day, you have to go with whatever makes you feel like a visceral reaction. If I drop something in one of my numerous group chats and like 8 of the 10 people in there respond, okay, I might be onto something. Do you know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, like, your gut, actual people, they're gonna inform you better than guessing at a trend or pandering to what's going on right now.
And a lot of times it's like what you know too that will help you make that decision. So like on my end, like on the media side of it, it's like, say for instance, if she comes to me with an artist and I'm like, I know that in our TMZ newsroom, they may not know this artist, but like I have been at maybe like a dope session where like the audience love the artist, or I'm seeing something, a movement that they're doing online and I see people connecting with it. And I'm like, yo, we could be the first people to get in on this. And then I have to figure out a way to make it tied to what's happening right now or what they care about right now. But then at work, you become the go-to for that person, so it creates another lane for you. And then, you know, it makes her team happy, so now you have new relationships. And then it's forward thinking, because once that artist then becomes this huge, huge artist, they're like, hey, you were the first person that believed in me. I'll always sit down with TMZ or with Lauren, wherever she is. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's a little bit of intuition. It's a lot of knowing the industry and what's going on, and then just really understanding like where things can go once you get all that together the right way.
Yeah, kind of to piggyback what Lauren is saying, I think it's more so about understanding what artists you're working with, understanding who you are authentically, the artist, but still considering where the industry is going, but tailoring it to what that artist is about.
Questions?
Gonna show some love to this side.
Hey y'all, just want to say y'all look beautiful. Appreciate y'all giving us y'all energy. My name is James June. I work in creative. I'm actually a designer at Hippo, so salad gonna be easy to get. My question is, you know, how do you? A lot of you spoke about switching your lanes, leaving PR, doing something else. How do you kind of balance working in other lanes and trying to tap into other sides? For example, I'm really interested in getting some marketing, doing more strategy. You know, being those people that make shit up, if you will. But what steps do you take to really go into that other lane without stepping on nobody's toes? Because sometimes, you know, people might look at you with a little side eye, you're trying to do their job, but what steps do you take to really go into a new department, a new lane in this industry?
Don't care about that side eye, because it's not your fault. If they're doing best work you're doing, you're not technically like just do what you do best and focus on that, and then all that will open up as well too. So if you know you're interested in marketing, use what you're already doing and start figuring out how you can work and build with the marketing team at where you are, and how your ideas can elevate what they're doing. Then it kind of slowly puts you there, and it also helps you see value in what you're doing, because you're probably already adding to what you want to do. You just, because you're sitting right in it, you don't see the resource of it. But you just have to keep doing what you're doing, and if it leads you there, you can't worry about a lot of like the side eyes and stuff like that, because like it's yours, like it was destined for you. So like that's not your problem.
One thing I would say is to put yourself in rooms that you want to be in. So if there are certain verticals or certain channels that you have access to at your current company, put yourself on the meeting, on the invite. Ask to be in these marketing meetings, ask to be in these PR meetings or what have you. Put yourself in places, even though people may not know that you want to be there. Like, make it known. Like, say what you want, and most of the time something will happen, something will give, and you will get it. But you have to put yourself in that position. I always say this. I'm a true believer in you have to make yourself open for favor, for you to receive certain things. And if you, I'm not to say that you aren't, I'm just saying be open to that, right? Like, put yourself in those certain places, and you never know what can happen.
You do creative? Yeah? Okay. I was like, wait, yeah. My like tactical suggestion to you would be elevate the idea of your creative. Don't just deliver like a creative asset, but deliver it with a vision. The whole like the secondary aspect of like making things up is having a vision of where resources live, who the audience is and which engage with it, what the ROI would be, what a key performance indicator would be, have the complete vision. Because if you show up and you're like, hey, I have this great animated video, and I think it would do really well here, and I think this audience will do da 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 da, you've hit 3 points that are necessary as part of marketing. I'm gonna be like, on the marketing end, if I was working with you as a creative, I'm gonna be much more receptive to your marketing ideas and wanna bring you into those conversations because you're coming with a vision.
I would say also too, to piggyback off of what these women just added to the conversation, is just like, ask for informational first, because I don't know if I'd allow somebody random to come to my meeting. Maybe it's just me. But like, you know what I mean, in a space.
I don't think that they was telling him to just like pop up on your boss and be like, hey, I'm here.
No, but I'm just saying, like, even on a calendar situation, right? If it's a different
for sure.
department, you gotta ease in there with an informational. So that would be my thing, is to do an informational, to just say like, hey, this is what I've noticed that the team has done. I might work in editorial, but you know, I've seen the work that the marketing team has done. Like, actually go in there, research, be able to cite projects that they've done to make it make sense. And then you create that kind of like connective tissue, because a lot of times, like some companies, like you'll have teams on your same floor and y'all never talk. You see them, your head is down, you do your business and you out. So that you already need to create that bridge before you go into a meeting space, just because if you make that creative, that connective tissue with the manager or whoever's leading the space, they can set the tone for when you come into that meeting to the rest of the department to embrace you and to kind of like help you in this new marketing journey. That would be my advice.
Also use the P word, passion. Hey, I'm really passionate about this artist. Do you mind if I participate? Usually works.
Or questions?
Good afternoon. Question is for, I think, Chevy. Your publicist, right?
Yeah.
PR.
For now.
What now?
The universe told her to
But seriously, when it comes to choosing a PR, what would you recommend to indie artists, and when should they get a publicist? Because I know that's subjective, and I asked it because I represent a couple of artists and I've gone through a couple of publicists, but it's just trying to find that right one, and sometimes it's win or lose, but to your point, I'll go myself to your advice. Go ahead.
Yeah, definitely as a team, especially an indie team, knowing what the vision is, knowing what the project is, having the timeline, the marketing plan together, because us as the PR, we come in and we complement whatever is already set. We will implement and consult, but we usually complement. If a team comes in and they don't really know what's going on, it makes it a little harder because they look at us as magicians in a sense, and that's fine, it can get to that. Maybe if you have the following and those other aspects to go along with it, but usually with indie artists it's a little harder. So I would say have the plan together. If you're with a label as far as distribution, usually the marketing team helps out with the timeline. So usually we like to have the assets when we're dealing with a client when it's time. We ask for the assets, and that means the music, the visuals, the timeline, and anything else that we need to push forward what is already set. As far as picking the right one, I would say finding one that is passionate. Like Dimple said, that passion word is big, because if someone is passionate about that artist, or at least the story, they're able to pitch with enthusiasm and pitch with knowing and being confident in what the brand is and what the story is. And communication is big. So, continuing on that communication with the managers or whoever the team is on the artist side, and just really